Christmas has always smelled like cinnamon and denial in my parents' house. Cinnamon from the sticks my mother insists on simmering all day, floating through every room like forced cheer. Denial from the way we all pretend nothing is wrong, even when it's been wrong for years. That Christmas morning, I stood in my childhood bedroom staring at my reflection, one hand resting unconsciously on my stomach. Still flat, still quiet, still holding a secret big enough to fracture everything. I was 8 weeks pregnant. No bump, no glow, just nausea, exhaustion, and a heartbeat I'd seen flickering on a black and white screen that changed my entire life. I hadn't planned to tell them on Christmas. I swear I hadn't. But secrets have a way of demanding air, and mine was starting to suffocate me. Downstairs, I could hear my father's voice booming through the house, already too loud for 10 in the morning. "Did anyone touch the gravy yet?" he shouted, "because if someone ruined it again—" My mother murmured something placating. She always did. 35 years of marriage had trained her voice into a permanent apology. I closed my eyes. This was a bad idea. Still, I tucked the ultrasound photo back into my purse, smoothed my sweater, and went downstairs. The living room looked exactly the way it had my entire childhood. Same couch, same chipped coffee table, same ornaments on the tree, including the crooked angel my brother and I made in kindergarten. My brother Mark was already there, scrolling on his phone, his wife beside him, laughing softly at something he showed her. They looked easy. Relaxed. Safe. I envied them more than I wanted to admit. "Hey," Mark said when he saw me. "You look tired." "Thanks," I replied, forcing a smile. "You okay?" his wife asked, genuine concern in her eyes. "I'm fine," I said quickly. Lie number 1 of the day. We gathered around the dining table an hour later, plates heavy with food, tension heavier still. My father sat at the head, as always. He carved the ham like it had personally offended him, knife striking the cutting board with unnecessary force. I waited. I told myself I'd wait until dessert, or after, or maybe next year. But then my mother lifted her glass. "I just want to say," she began, smiling tightly, "how grateful I am to have everyone together this year." My father nodded once, already chewing. "And," she continued, "that family is the most important thing in the world." Something in her tone made my chest tighten. I don't know what possessed me. Maybe it was the word family. Maybe it was the way my stomach flipped for the 3rd time that morning. Maybe it was the quiet certainty that once I said it, there would be no going back. "I have something to share," I said. The table went still. My father looked up slowly. "Can it wait?" "No, it can't," I said, surprising myself with how steady my voice sounded. Mark raised his eyebrows. His wife reached for his hand. My mother's smile faltered. "Sweetheart?" I reached into my purse.
Pulled out the ultrasound photo. I'm pregnant. The silence that followed was not the kind you hear in movies. It wasn't dramatic. It wasn't loud. It was hollow. My mother's fork clattered against her plate. Mark sucked in a sharp breath. His wife's eyes filled instantly with tears. "Oh my God," she whispered. "That's—" My father stood up so abruptly his chair scraped against the floor. "No," he said. Just that. "No." "I'm 8 weeks," I said softly. "I wanted to tell you in person." His face turned red, not flushed, not surprised. Angry. "Who's the father?" he demanded. I hesitated, and that hesitation was all it took. His hand closed around his plate. Time slowed. I saw my mother's eyes widen. I saw Mark start to stand. I saw the plate leave my father's hands. It hit the wall beside the cabinet and shattered. Gravy splattered down the paint like a crime scene. "What did I tell you?" he roared. "What did I tell you about ruining your life?" My mother screamed. Mark moved between us instinctively. My heart slammed so hard I thought I might throw up. I'm 31, I said, my voice shaking now. I'm not a child. You're acting like one, he shouted. Pregnant, unmarried, on Christmas, in my house. I felt something break inside me then, not loudly, quietly, like a bone cracking under weight it had carried too long. You don't get to do this, my brother said firmly. You don't get to scream at her. My father rounded on him. Stay out of it. No, Mark said. I won't. My mother rushed to my side, hands trembling as she gripped my arms. Sweetheart, sit down, please. I didn't sit. I couldn't. I didn't come here to be humiliated, I said. I came because you're my family. My father laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. Family doesn't embarrass each other like this. Embarrass, that word burned. You don't even know the whole story, I said. I don't need to, he snapped. I raised you better than this. My brother's wife spoke up then, voice trembling but brave. This is a baby, she said. That's not a mistake. That's a life. My father turned on her like she'd betrayed him. Stay out of my family's business.
She didn't flinch. It is my business, she said. She's my sister now. I felt tears sting my eyes. Not because of him, because of her. I took a breath. There's something else, I said. My father scoffed. Oh, I'm sure there is. I reached into my purse again. This time, my hand shook. I'm not alone, I said. I haven't been. And I didn't get pregnant by accident. His eyes narrowed. Then explain yourself. I looked around the table, at my mother's fear, at my brother's anger, at the wall still dripping with gravy, and I realized something devastating. No matter what I said next, this moment would change everything. But if you think my father's reaction was the worst part of that day, you have no idea what happened next. Because the truth I was about to tell them, that was the part no one saw coming. The truth didn't rush out of me. It hovered, heavy, dangerous, waiting for the exact moment it would do the most damage. My father was still standing, chest heaving, eyes locked on me like I was a stranger who had wandered into his house and insulted him on purpose. Gravy dripped slowly down the wall behind him, thick and dark, settling into the cracks of the paint. No one moved to clean it. No one moved at all. Say it, he said finally, his voice low and sharp. Say whatever excuse you've rehearsed. I swallowed. I didn't rehearse anything, I said, because this isn't an excuse. My mother's fingers tightened around my arm. I could feel her shaking now, the way she used to when I was little and my father got angry in public. She leaned in close, her voice barely audible. Please, she whispered, not like this. But it was already like this. I'm in a relationship, I said. Have been for a year. My father scoffed. With who? I hesitated again. And again that pause spoke louder than words. Mark noticed. His face changed. Not anger, not judgment. Recognition. Wait, said lowly. Is it someone we know? My heart pounded so hard it felt like it was in my throat. Yes. My father's mouth twisted. Of course it is. My mother's grip loosened just enough for her to look at me. Her eyes searched my face, desperate, pleading, terrified of what she might find there. Who? She asked. I opened my mouth, closed it, then forced the words out. It's Daniel. The name hit the room like a dropped glass. My mother made a sound I'd never heard before. Not a scream, not a sob. Something between disbelief and grief. Mark went completely still. My father's face went blank. Daniel. My father's former business partner. My brother's high school baseball coach. My parents' friend for nearly 20 years. Daniel, who'd been divorced for 5. Daniel, who'd helped me move into my first apartment. Daniel, who'd shown up to my birthday dinners, my graduations, my parents' anniversaries. Daniel, who was 15 years older than me.
"You're lying," my father said, quietly. "I'm not," I replied. "You're sick," he snapped. "You're confused." "I'm pregnant," I said. "That part isn't confusion." My mother sank into her chair. "Oh, God," she whispered. "Oh, God, no." Mark's voice was tight. "How long?" "A year," I said again. "It started slowly, and before you say it, no, he didn't groom me. No, he didn't pressure me. No, I wasn't manipulated." My father slammed his hand on the table. "Do not," he shouted, "defend him." "I'm defending myself," I said, "because I knew this would be your reaction." His eyes burned. "You think this is about age? About optics? He betrayed me." "That's not fair," I said. "Your friendship ended years ago, and I didn't owe you my loneliness." My mother looked up sharply. "Loneliness?" I laughed then, a small, broken sound. "You never asked if I was lonely," I said. "You never noticed how I stopped coming around, how I stopped talking, how I stayed in bad apartments and worse jobs because I was afraid of failing loudly." My father pointed at me. "You had every advantage." "And still felt invisible," I said, "until someone actually saw me." Silence swallowed the room again. Mark exhaled slowly. Is he serious about you?" "Yes," I said. "He wanted to come today. I told him not to." That did it. My father's restraint snapped completely. "He was going to come here?" he roared. "Into my house?" "He's the father of my child," I said. "He's not a monster." "He is to me." My mother covered her mouth. "I can't do this," she whispered. "I can't." She stood up too fast, knocking her chair over, and fled into the kitchen. I heard the door slam. Mark moved instinctively to follow her, then stopped, torn. My father stared at me like I'd set his life on fire and was calmly watching it burn. "You chose him," he said, "over your family." "I chose myself, for once. You chose disgrace." I felt my eyes sting. "Why is it disgraceful?" I asked. "Because it doesn't fit your timeline? Because it doesn't look the way you imagined?" "Because it's wrong," he said flatly. "Is it? Or is it just uncomfortable?"
He stepped closer to me, close enough that I could smell the ham and anger on his breath. "You will not raise that child with him," he said. "I won't allow it." I laughed again, this time steadier. "You don't get a vote," I said. "You never did." Mark stepped between us again. "That's enough," he said. "Dad, stop." My father turned on him. "Don't take her side." "I'm not taking sides," Mark said. "I'm stopping you from saying something you can't take back." Too late. My father pointed at the door. "Get out," he said. The words didn't shock me. They settled, like confirmation. "You want me to leave?" I asked. "Yes," he said. "If you walk out that door with this mess, don't come back." My brother looked at me, panic in his eyes. "You don't have to go," he said. Just give it time." Time. I'd given them years. I picked up my coat. My mother didn't come back. My father didn't stop me. Mark followed me to the porch, grabbing my arm gently. "Please," he said, "let me come with you." I shook my head. "Stay with Mom. She'll need you," he said. "So will I replied softly. "But I'll be okay." I stepped out into the cold. The door closed behind me. I sat in my car for a long time before turning the key. My phone buzzed. A message from Daniel. "Did you tell them?" I stared at it, then typed back. "Yes." A moment passed. "Are you safe?" Tears finally spilled. "Yes, but everything just changed." His reply came quickly. "Then come home. We'll face the rest together. As I drove away from the house I grew up in, snow started to fall. Soft, quiet, almost gentle. I thought about the plate hitting the wall, about my mother's face collapsing, about my father's words, and I realized something terrifying and freeing at the same time. Christmas didn't break my family. It revealed it. And what happened after that? That was when the real consequences began.
I didn't go home that night. Not really. Daniel's apartment was warm, quiet, and familiar, but my body stayed tense, like it was still bracing for another plate to fly across a wall. I sat on the edge of his couch, coat still on, hands folded over my stomach like I was guarding something fragile, which I was. Daniel knelt in front of me without saying a word. He didn't ask questions, he didn't demand details. He just placed his hands over mine, gently, like he was asking permission. "Hey," he said softly, "you're safe." That's when I finally broke. Not loud, not dramatic, just silent tears slipping down my face while he pulled me into his chest and held me like I wasn't something shameful that needed fixing. "I ruined everything," I whispered. "No," he said immediately. "You told the truth." "It feels like the same thing," I said. He rested his forehead against mine. "Only to people who benefit from the lie." I stayed there all night, barely sleeping. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw my father's face twisted with rage, heard his voice telling me not to come back, felt the door closing behind me. By morning, my phone was heavy with silence. No messages from my mother, no calls from my father. Just one text from my brother. "I'm here. Don't disappear." I stared at it for a long time before replying. "I won't. I just need space." Daniel made coffee, burnt toast, pretended not to notice how I flinched every time my phone lit up. "I can talk to your dad," he said carefully, "when you're ready." I shook my head. "Not yet, if ever." He didn't argue. That's one of the things that made loving him feel different. He didn't try to take over my battles. He just stood close enough that I didn't feel alone while fighting them. 2 days passed, then 3. Then my mother called. I let it ring twice before answering. "Hello?" Her voice sounded smaller. "I made soup," she said. "I don't know why I'm telling you that. I guess I'm trying to sound normal." I swallowed. "Hi, Mom." Silence. Then, "Your father hasn't spoken to me since Christmas." That surprised me. "He barely looked at me," she continued. "Just sat in his chair all night, staring at the wall you stained with gravy like it personally betrayed him." I almost laughed. Almost. "I didn't mean for things to explode," I said quietly. She sighed. "That's not what they did. That's what he did." I closed my eyes. "I should have protected you more," she said suddenly, "when you were younger, when you came home crying because you didn't feel good enough for him." My chest tightened. "You noticed?" I asked.
"Yes," she whispered. "And I told myself it would get better." "I told myself that too," I said. Another pause. "He says Daniel took advantage of you." I stiffened. "And what do you think?" "I think—" She hesitated, choosing her words carefully. "I think you look different when you talk about him. Calmer, more yourself." Tears slid down my cheeks. "I don't approve of how it happened," she added, "but I don't believe you're broken or ruined." That mattered more than she could possibly know. "Thank you," I said. She cleared her throat. "Your father doesn't want you back in the house. Not yet." "I know." "But I do," she said softly. I didn't respond. Because wanting and being allowed are two very different things in families like mine. A week later, the rumors started. Not from strangers, from relatives. An aunt I hadn't spoken to in years texted me,
Heard you made quite the announcement at Christmas. A cousin messaged, Your dad's devastated. You really hurt him. No one asked how I was. No one asked if I was okay. They asked how he felt. I turned my phone face down and sat on Daniel's bed, staring at the wall. This is how it happens. They rewrite the story until I'm the villain. Daniel sat beside me. Then don't let them. How? By telling it yourself, he said. I shook my head. They won't listen. Some people will, he said, and the ones who don't were never really hearing you anyway. That night, I wrote an email. Not to my father. To my family. All of them. I didn't defend myself. I didn't attack anyone. I told the truth. About my pregnancy. About my relationship. About the fact that I was scared, but not ashamed. I ended it with one sentence. I'm building a life that feels honest to me. You can be part of it, or you can stand outside it, but I won't be punished for choosing it. I hit send, then turned my phone off. If you're still watching this story unfold, pause for just a second and take a breath with me, because this is the point where everything starts to turn. And if stories about courage, consequences, and choosing yourself resonate with you, make sure you subscribe to Scarlight Stories right now. You don't want to miss what comes next. The response was uneven. Some messages were kind, some were careful, some were cruel.
One aunt told me I was disgusting. Another said she admired my bravery but couldn't support it publicly. My brother's message was short. Dad is spiraling, but I'm proud of you. That night, Daniel asked a question he'd been holding back. Do you regret telling them? I thought about it. About the plate. About the door. About the silence that followed. No, I said. I regret waiting so long. 2 weeks later, my father showed up at my work. No call, no warning, just standing in the lobby like he owned the air. My coworker leaned over. Is that your dad? He looks intense. I stood up slowly. I'll handle it, I said. We stepped outside, into the cold. He didn't hug me, didn't yell. That was somehow worse. You embarrassed me, he said. I crossed my arms. You already said that. You let people talk, he continued. You aired private things. I told the truth, I replied. Your truth, he snapped. Yes, I said, the only one I'm responsible for. He looked at me like he didn't recognize me. You're choosing this man over your family, he said again. I'm choosing my child, I said, and myself. You'll regret it. I smiled sadly. I already regret living for your approval. That stopped him, just for a second. Then he shook his head. I didn't raise you like this. You raised me to be honest, I said. You just didn't expect me to be honest with you. He left without another word. That night, I felt the baby kick for the first time. Tiny, fleeting, real. I placed Daniel's hand over my stomach. He laughed softly, eyes wide. Hey, he whispered. I felt that. And in that moment, I understood something with perfect clarity. No matter what my father said, no matter what my family chose, this life growing inside me was not a mistake. And the next time my parents reached out, it wouldn't be with anger. It would be with fear. Because the truth they'd tried to bury was about to force its way to the surface. And when it did, nothing would be the same again. The call came at 3 a.m. Not from my mother, not from my brother, from a number I didn't recognize. I stared at my phone as it buzzed against the nightstand, my heart already racing before I even answered. When you grow up in a house like mine, your body learns fear faster than your mind does. Hello? I whispered, careful not to wake Daniel. Is this his daughter? A woman asked, breathless, panicked. Yes, I said, sitting up. Who is this? This is Linda, she said quickly. I work with your father. Something's wrong. Every muscle in my body locked. What kind of wrong? There was a pause.
I heard muffled voices in the background. Sirens, distant but unmistakable. "He collapsed," she said. "At the office. They think it's his heart." For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Collapsed. Heart. Those words didn't belong to my father. He was loud, strong, unmovable. Men like him didn't fall. They didn't break. They certainly didn't collapse in front of people. "Where is he?" I asked. "They're taking him to St. Matthew's," she replied. "I didn't know who else to call." The line went dead. Daniel was awake before I could say a word. He sat up, eyes already searching my face. "What happened?" "My dad, he collapsed. They're taking him to the hospital." He was out of bed instantly, pulling on clothes. "I'm coming with you." I shook my head, panic and instinct colliding. "I don't know if—" "I'm coming," he said, gently, not forceful, certain. The drive was silent except for the sound of my own breathing. Too fast, too shallow. Every red light felt like an insult. I hadn't spoken to my father in weeks. The last words he'd said to me were, "You'll regret it." Now all I could think was, what if he's right? At the hospital, the fluorescent lights felt cruel, too bright, too clean, too indifferent to the way my chest ached. My mother was already there, sitting rigidly in a plastic chair, hands clasped so tightly her knuckles were white. She looked up when she saw me. For half a second, I thought she might run to me. Instead, she just nodded. "She's in surgery," she said. "Massive blockage. They barely got him here in time." I swallowed hard. "Is he—" "We don't know yet," she replied. My brother arrived minutes later, breathless, eyes red. He hugged me without hesitation, holding on longer than usual. "I'm glad you're here," he whispered. I was too, but standing there, waiting to find out if my father would live or die, I felt something deeply unsettling. I didn't know what I wanted the outcome to be. That terrified me. Hours passed. No updates, no movement. Just the sound of machines humming somewhere behind closed doors, and the weight of everything unsaid pressing down on my chest. My mother finally broke the silence.
"This is your fault," she said quietly. The words landed softly, but they cut just as deep. I turned to her. "Excuse me?" "You stressed him," she continued, not looking at me. "All of this, the pregnancy, the humiliation, the fighting, his blood pressure's been out of control for weeks." My brother spun toward her. "Mom, stop." "I'm just saying the truth," she snapped. "He's been a mess since Christmas." I felt like I'd been slapped. I didn't make him scream. I didn't throw the plate. I didn't threaten to disown anyone. "But you didn't think about him," she shot back. Daniel stepped forward then, his voice calm but firm. "She's not responsible for a grown man's heart condition." My mother looked at him like she'd just noticed he existed. "This is family business," she said coldly. "And she's my family now," he replied. The room went silent. If you're watching this right now and feeling that knot in your chest, that familiar feeling of being blamed for someone else's inability to cope, take a second. And if stories like this hit close to home, make sure you subscribe to Scarlight Stories. These are the stories people don't say out loud, but live every day. A nurse appeared just then, saving us from saying something we couldn't take back. A nurse appeared just then, saving us from saying something we couldn't take back. "Family of Robert Hayes?" she asked. We all stood. "He's out of surgery," she said. "It is serious, but he made it. He's stable for now." Relief hit me so hard my knees nearly buckled. "Can we see him?" my mother asked. "One at a time, short visits." My mother went first, then Mark. When it was my turn, I hesitated. I hadn't planned what I'd say. I didn't even know if he wanted to see me. But the nurse was already holding the door open. "He asked for you," she said quietly. That surprised me more than anything else that night. The room smelled like antiseptic and something metallic. My father looked smaller in the hospital bed, tubes snaking out of him, machines blinking softly at his side.
His face was pale, his eyes closed. For a moment, I just stood there. Then he opened his eyes. They focused on me slowly, like he wasn't sure I was real. "So," he croaked, "you came." "Yes," I said. He swallowed. "Figured you wouldn't." I stepped closer. "I'm still your daughter." He looked away. "I failed you," he said quietly. The words stunned me. "What?" I whispered. "You pushed," he continued. "I always pushed. Thought if I controlled everything, nothing could go wrong." I didn't speak. "I thought if I scared you enough, you'd fall back in line," he admitted. "I didn't think you'd listen." My chest tightened. "I told you not to come back," he replied.
For the first time in my life, my father looked afraid. "They told me I might have died," he said, "on the floor, in front of everyone." I swallowed, and the first thing I thought was, I don't know my daughter anymore. Tears filled my eyes. "You never tried," I said. "You only tried to control me." Silence stretched between us. Then he said something I never expected. "I don't know how to fix this." I took a breath. "Neither do I said honestly, "but blaming me won't." He closed his eyes. "I don't approve," he said, "of the pregnancy, or him." I nodded. "I know. But," his voice faltered, "I don't want to lose you." That was the crack. Not an apology, not acceptance, but fear. "I'm not disappearing," I said, "but I won't go back to pretending either." He nodded weakly. "I need time," he said. "So do I replied. When I left the room, my mother was waiting. "Well?" she asked. "He's alive," I said. "That's what matters." She studied my face, then looked away. On the drive home, Daniel reached for my hand. "You okay?" "I don't know," I said, "but something changed tonight." "And?" "And I think the next move is his, not mine." I felt another small flutter in my stomach. Stronger this time. More certain. Whatever came next, forgiveness, distance, or something in between, I knew one thing for sure. I wasn't wrong for choosing my child. And in the final part of this story, you'll see what choice my father made next, because it wasn't the one anyone expected. The waiting didn't end when my father left the hospital. That was the cruelest part. Everyone assumes the crisis ends when the machines stop beeping, when the doctors say stable, when the danger passes. But some moments don't close cleanly. They leave doors cracked just enough for anxiety to slip through every night. My father was discharged 10 days later. He went home. I didn't. Not because I was forbidden, because nothing had been said. No apology, no forgiveness, no invitation. Just silence, stretched thin and humming with tension. My mother texted updates like she was reporting the weather.
"He's resting. He's tired. Doctor says stress is dangerous." Each message felt like a warning disguised as concern. Don't upset him. Don't push. Don't exist too loudly. Daniel noticed the way my shoulders tightened every time my phone buzzed. "You don't owe them anything right now," he said one evening as we sat on the couch, my feet tucked under his leg. "I know," I said, "but knowing and believing are two different things." 3 weeks passed. My belly was starting to change in small, undeniable ways. Not enough for strangers to notice, but enough that my clothes fit differently. Enough that my body felt like it was constantly reminding me, this is real. One afternoon, as I folded laundry, Daniel cleared his throat. "I got an email today," he said carefully. My heart jumped. "From who?" "Your dad." I froze. "What did he say?" "He asked if we could talk, just the two of us." My first reaction was anger. He couldn't yell at me anymore, so now he wanted to go through the man he blamed for everything. "No," I said immediately. "Absolutely not." Daniel didn't argue. He just nodded. "I told him I wouldn't do anything you weren't comfortable with," he said, "but I wanted you to know." That night, I couldn't sleep. Not because I was afraid of what my father might say, because I was afraid of what he might not. A week later, my mother called. Not a text, a call. "Your father wants to see you," she said. My chest tightened. "About what?" "He didn't say," she replied, "but he's different." Different how? Quieter, angrier, more fragile? I looked at Daniel. He didn't say a word. He just waited. "When?" I asked. "Sunday," she said. "Dinner, just us." Just us. No Daniel, no buffer, no witnesses. "I'll come, but I won't be ambushed." There was a pause, then softly, "I promise." Sunday came too fast. The house looked the same when I pulled into the driveway. Same paint, same wreath still hanging from Christmas, dried and forgotten. The gravy stain on the dining room wall had been scrubbed clean, but I could still see it in my mind like a scar. My father was already seated when I walked in. He stood slowly. "Sit," he said.
Not a command, an invitation. That alone felt strange. Dinner passed with careful politeness. Too careful. Like we were all afraid that one wrong word would shatter the fragile calm. Finally, he set his fork down. "I went to therapy," he said. I blinked. "I didn't like it," he added, "but I went." My mother stared at him like she wasn't sure he was real. "I was angry," he continued. "Not just at you, at everything I couldn't control." I waited. "I blamed you because it was easier than admitting I was scared," he said. "Scared of getting old, scared of being irrelevant, scared that I didn't recognize the world anymore." My throat tightened. "I don't understand your choices," he said, "and I won't pretend I do." Here it comes, I thought. "But," he continued, voice rough, "but I don't want my grandchild growing up knowing I rejected them before they were even born." The word grandchild landed softly, not warmly, but intentionally. "I won't apologize for my values," he said, "but I will apologize for how I treated you." I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding. "I needed you to hear me, not control me." He nodded once. "I'm learning that." Silence filled the room again, but this time it wasn't sharp. It was cautious. "I won't pretend this fixes everything," my mother said quietly. "No," I agreed. "It doesn't." "But," she added, looking between us, "it's a start." When I left that night, nothing felt magically healed, but something felt possible. 2 months later, my water broke early. It wasn't dramatic, no rush, no screaming, just a quiet realization at 2 in the morning that this story was about to shift into a new chapter whether anyone was ready or not. Daniel drove like the roads mattered. I labored for 12 hours, and when my daughter was finally placed in my arms, small and furious and alive, I understood something so clearly it took my breath away. This was the point. Not Christmas, not the fight, not the hospital. This. I named her Hope, not because everything was perfect, but because I chose not to raise her in fear. My father came to the hospital 2 days later. He stood awkwardly at the doorway, unsure. "May I?" he asked. I nodded. He held her carefully, like she was made of glass. "She's strong," he said softly.
"Yes," I replied, "she is." He looked at me then, not with anger, not with disappointment, but with something closer to humility. "I don't want to repeat myself," he said. "I don't want to lose her, or you." I didn't answer right away, because forgiveness isn't a switch, it's a process. But I let him stay. Years from now, when people ask about that Christmas, I won't tell them about the plate. I'll tell them it was the day everything false finally broke. And if you're still here with me, thank you for listening to a story that isn't neat, but is honest. If you want more stories about family, truth, and choosing yourself even when it costs everything, make sure you subscribe to Scarlight Stories, because sometimes the most painful moments are the ones that finally make room for something real.